Hello, guys, and welcome to the final episode of the F1 podcast for the 2025 season. As today we're going to review the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, as a certain man was crowned the 35th driver world champion in Formula One and 11th British champion in Formula One. And we're going to talk about that man later. But going into the race, obviously title battle was between Lando, Max, and Oscar. Max had to win, and for Lando to not finish in the podium. Whereas Lando, if he finished in the podium, he would win the title. And if Oscar wanted to win the title, he had to win and hope for Lando to finish below fifth. And in the end, Max Verstappen won the race. It was a very, very good win from Max's side. However, it did not mean it was enough for him to win a title, as Lando Norris finished in the podium and won the 2025 World Drivers' Championship. Congratulations to Lando for winning the championship. A well deserved, a worthy champion, in my opinion. What I even as a neutral F1 fan, obviously knowing Lando through the years in 2020, 2021, he was a guy that always described as the Mr. Nice Guy. He was always a guy that was described as like a little kid, like a smiley, funny, handsome, charismatic guy. And to see a driver of Lando's personality, because sometimes we see drivers of F1 drivers winning championships having this ruthless mentality, having this badass mentality, let's say, like Max Verstappen, for example. But to see a guy who's very, very nice, to see him win a championship, and this proves that nice guys can win. Nice guys can win, and Lando has proved it. He said it. He said it that I think before Japan this year, that he wants to win it in his way and not be like any like others, and he did it. He did it. Congratulations. I think he's been the well-deserved champion. Yeah, Max Verstappen had a great comeback. Oscar was very, very strong in the first half of the season, but Lando was the most consistent. He had the most podiums. He didn't have the most wins. Yes, I get it, but he had the most podiums. He had the most sprint wins. Even most of the times when he was not winning, he was always like second to Piastri or to Max. And he's been mostly, and he's had lots of bad luck this season. He's had lots of bad luck. He's had the disqualification in Las Vegas, the DNF in Zandvoort, the not should have been in the podium in Qatar, but because of McLaren, he didn't do that. He's had so many bad luck this season. Austin Sprint as well. He's had so many bad luck, and yet he's ended up winning the championship. In my opinion, a well-deserved championship champion. And for sure, I really hope, for his sake, that this championship is gonna help him in the future, and we could even see a better Lando Norris, because sometimes when we see F1 drivers going for their first championship, it's always tense, it's always tough, there's always nerves. It happened to Lewis, the same thing. It happened to Vettel, the same thing. And when they won the first title, they were able to unleash themselves. The pressure was gone, and they were able to unleash themselves and win more titles. And I really hope we could see the same thing for Lando for his sake. So congratulations to Lando, a well-deserved champion. What do you think, Mohammed?
Yes, of course, a well-deserved championship. Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri put up a good fight, especially Verstappen with his comeback after the summer break. Um, Overall, I think it was a good year for F1 in general. Maybe not the start. We understand the start was very dominant from McLaren, but as we went on throughout the season, McLaren started getting rivals. Like for example, Mercedes sometimes had sometimes had good cars in some races, and sometimes they didn't. Red Bull, the same thing with Red Bull. Um, I would. I think if Red Bull had like two decent drivers, or not two decent, another decent driver other than two decent drivers, they would definitely had a better chance of winning the championship. That's my honest opinion. Like if you had two drivers in the front, you could have had a better chance of winning the championship. But overall, yeah, good championship. Hard luck for Oscar Piastri. Hard luck for Oscar Piastri. It's his third season, so it's not that bad from that perspective. Uh, I have nothing to say, but it should have been McLaren should have won this a long time ago. Not they should have not left it to Abu Dhabi and not with a 2 point difference. But yeah, Lando Norris did
Yeah.
what he needed to do, and that's it.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, for Oscar Piastri, I mean, he's had a an incredible season. Like I expect him to be better than this season, than last season, but I didn't expect him to be like leading the championship for 15 rounds, which was crazy considering a guy who's in his third season in Formula One, even though Lando Norris is only 1 year older than Oscar, it's still incredible from Oscar Piastri's side, and he's had a very good season. However, he should be also, to some extent, like be a bit frustrated, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, he should be proud in general, but he should be, yeah, he should be proud, absolutely. But he should be, I think, well, I think Oscar, for his sake, I think he can learn from his mistakes, and secondly, he can be also frustrating. He can look at some things and say, could have I done better? Because let's not forget, after Zandvoort, he was having a brilliant season. Still had a great season. But after Zandvoort, he was 34 points clear of Lando and 104 points of Max. And when he thinks about that, he could be like, could have I done that? Could have I done better? So, but
Look,
I think, yes, there were some things you could say that affected Oscar, like the Monza swap, etc. But again, it's not an excuse. Um, he's had poor performances. Like he was in Baku, he was terrible. In Singapore, where he was at two positions ahead of Lando, and he let Lando bully him in the first lap. And he's had difficult performances. He's had some crashes. So hopefully, for his sake, he can learn from his mistakes in the future. And he had a decent end to the season. He had a good performance in Qatar. So yeah, he's had a very good season, and hopefully for his sake, he will learn from his mistakes and get even stronger in the upcoming years for his sake, because the season he's had is incredible.
you could.
But back to Lando Norris. I mean, yeah, go on.
I was gonna say regarding Oscar Piastri, we could say many things. Like for example, if they didn't swap in, I've heard this. I'm not sure if this is correct or wrong, but if they didn't swap in Monza, Oscar Piastri could have won the championship by 2 points. If McLaren didn't f up in Qatar, Oscar Piastri could have had a better chance of winning the championship. Another thing, if Oscar Piastri did not
If
crash
Lando
it,
Norris didn't lose 18 points in Zandvoort, you'd have won the championship more earlier. So we could say different things. So
yeah, and another thing, if Oscar Piastri did not crash in the sprint in Brazil, he could have had a better chance. It's chances. If Verstappen
yeah,
didn't if Russell didn't rage bait Verstappen into crashing into him, Verstappen could have won the championship. It's all
exactly.
probabilities, but yeah, it is kind of funny that
Nobody, no, yeah,
it is kind of funny that
yeah,
Os-
nobody.
Oscar Piastri rage baited him into into losing the championship.
But yeah, like I agree with you. Like nobody had a perfect season. Even if Lando won the championship, nobody of them had perfect season. Well, all of them had some moments going for them and moments going against him. Like you could say Max Verstappen, he was like unlucky. You could say he had some bad moments like Spain, Silverstone where he spun. But you could also say maybe he was a bit lucky to not get a penalty in Mexico, for example. And also, there's all the drivers had some unlucky moments, but there's no doubt that the driver who all of them had the most bad moments and lost the most points, according to the calculations to some people in social media, was Lando, and he still won the championship. And I want to get back to Lando because what I think also should be giving credit for his championship win is that the resilience the resilience, the strength, the mentality to still bounce back and still cope with the amount because he's had again like I've read a stat like I think 2 days ago that he lost around like my 55 points this season. 55, like it's incredible, and that was because mostly because of McLaren's you know bad decisions and bad thinking. But again, you have to give credit to Lando because he's all like he's shown at the start of the season he's not having his best start. He was not bad as people assume, but I don't think he was at his best. But in that second half season, I think it showed him like he showed a real champion mindset, like taking it race by race, not being too overconfident, and dealing with the critics and dealing with the people. Like he was booed in Mexico, he was booed in Brazil, and he's coped with it fantastically well. And he's shown a real. I said it before. He's shown a real strength of a siege mentality, and he's coped with it fantastically well. He's been the most. Listen, he didn't have the most wins this season, but he's gotten the most podium. He's been the most consistent, and consistency is key, as George Russell said before. Consistency is what he wins the championships, and Lando's had 18 podiums, and he's had 18 podiums, and half of those races that he didn't get at the podium was because of McLaren's mistakes, Zandvoort, Qatar, Las Vegas. So Lando's had an incredible season, and like I said, I hope for his sake that now having won this championship, he can improve more and he will be confident. And seeing him happy after the race, how happy he was. You saw that in the videos in the party where he was
Yeah,
he was having a time of his life. But
yeah, yeah. He
so
was
yeah,
happy.
like I'm really happy for
It
him.
could it
Because,
could be it
yeah,
could be his one. It could be the only time he wins a championship. You never know. But I think Lando's a multi-champion
exactly.
winner, but he has that mentality. But I don't think it could be his last. You never know. You gotta
Yeah,
live every
because
moment.
if McLaren struggle in the new regulations, then it's going to be difficult. So absolutely, I think he has to. He was very happy. Seeing his family, his friends as well, how happy they were for him is incredible. And see how he was ecstatic, and in the podium he was like showing fist pumps. I've never seen him that passionate. But yeah, absolutely, very happy for him, and he's a deserved world champion. But on Max Verstappen, like.
His
He's
fan
had an
base,
incredible
yeah, yeah,
comeback.
yeah.
Yeah, what
But
do you
his
think of
fan
Verstappen's
base,
comeback?
yes, but his fan base, man. Like I love, look, Verstappen is really good. His the only things, as I said, his ego, but his ego. He's a driver. I like Verstappen. I don't like him, but I do like Verstappen as a driver. But his fan base, oh my God, they've turned into the people that they how do I say this? They've turned themselves into the people that they hate. For example, when in 2021 when when Hamilton lost the lost the championship, and Lewis Hamilton, or the LH cult as they say, went out and said those. So they turned it exactly into them after Lando won the championship. But yeah, Verstappen pulled off a miracle for even being in for being for having a pulled off a miracle for even having a chance of winning the championship, and only Lando winning it by 2 points. But yeah, anyway, your point on Verstappen. Sorry for cutting you off.
No, it's okay. Um, but I think yeah, Maxi's had an incredible comeback, and what I praised before about Max, even though he didn't win the title, the hunger, desire, the will to still to win, and to still keep winning, to still keep performing. And yes, he didn't win the championship, but he led the most laps, he got the most pole positions, he got the most wins, and of course, there were some moments where it let's say cost Max Verstappen the championship. Red Bull not having a good car at the first half of the season, and some moments that went against him. And that was because of his mistakes, like Spain, Saudi Arabia, Silverstone, and some bad moments like Hungary, Austria from Kimi Antonelli. So, but again, those are like I said, should have, could have, would have. I think what even more. I think, in my opinion, as a Formula One fan, in my opinion, this is the best season of Max Verstappen, in my opinion. And that's not because he didn't win the championship. It's because to show a level of determination to still come back strong. And yes, that was because some to degree because of McLaren's mistakes, but still to come back and still be like 104 points behind the McLarens and still come back and still push them to the end and still lose in the end by 2 points. I mean, you have to take your hat off. He almost created, in my opinion, he almost created the best comeback in history of Formula One. You know, absolutely incredible. And yes, because if you look at his championship wins, like let's say in 2021, he was brilliant, but at the same time, you know, what happened in the end, etc., etc. 2022, 2023, he